So we're going to talk a lot about inflation and what's happening and what to do in the marketplace right now. I'm going to Coles Notes version it for you because this is my favorite time when, whether you're in the United States or you're in Canada, it doesn't really matter right now. Inflation is all over the place. Our governments, wherever prospectively you live, doesn't matter what country you're in, they're not doing a great job at curbing inflation right now, or at least even in Canada, they were actually doing a really good job, and then they spent too much money, and now, the housing market, whether it's Canada or United States, is going to take the hits. So that doesn't make a difference to me where you are. What you have to really look at is when inflation is going up, the number one thing that's affected right now is consumer confidence. Consumer confidence drives the market. So it doesn't really matter where you are, it's consumer confidence. And so the less confidence the consumers have, the less your market is going to do anything. So if your inflation keeps increasing in the United States, for example, then consumer confidence drops. Equally, you have different mortgages than we do in Canada. So what you're also going to see with consumer confidence is people are going to hold. So Canada, United States, doesn't matter where. If consumer confidence is impacted, you're going to see a slowdown in marketplace listings. Now, the number one driver of all things real estate is what? Listings or the buyers? It's the buyers. Don't kid yourself. Okay. You can list 1 million houses, but if buyers aren't willing to pay the price, if buyers don't feel confident, and if buyers decide that this isn't the right time, or they feel that the government is all over the place, they're going to hold. They're going to hold. It's everything that they have. Okay. In real estate, we trade every day. So for us, it's really not that big of a deal. We can kind of just go, oh, well, it's sell one house, sell two houses. Like, you got to sell. The market's great. We're very immune to it because we've lived throughout, no offense, but we've lived throughout, global pandemics, right? I mean, I think we're pretty resilient people. So we kind of are a little desensitized to what the general public feels. The general public, when they feel consumed or when they're confused over what's happening, then they're just going to hold. Okay, they're not going to do anything. So you're going to see massive slowdown. So consumer confidence drives that marketplace. So there's a few things that you really want to do if you really want to get your market share, because I'm a big believer in what Warren Buffett says. When other people are scared, we dive in. So what I'm seeing across the board is I'm hearing, I got a phone call the other day from somebody who said that they made 900,000 GCI last year. They're at 0 this year. Okay, they just put one under agreement. And I was like, what? And I said, I can't believe that. And then another person called me up and they said that they have a team. And in their team, they're like, half my team isn't producing. And they're like, I'm going to let the team go. And so there's so many things that I'm seeing happening because we're not adjusting as business owners to what's actually happening. And you have to be following. The worst thing that I want to hear is people saying, you know what? I'm not following inflation. I'm not following what's happening, or I'm not listening to what the government's doing because it doesn't impact me. It does. It impacts your consumers. And if you're not following what the consumers are doing, again, how are you planning your business? It doesn't make sense to me. You don't want to react. You want to be prepared. So whether you're Canada or United States, this is for my best suggestions for you at this current time. First thing I would do is I'm saying go back to January, February of 2022. Okay. You're seeing leads. Like, I'm talking uncover every single freaking lead you have, everything you have. Go all the way back to January, February of 2022. Dive into that and watch what happens. Reach out to all those dead leads. I don't care if you met them at an open house. Just use one of our easiest scripts where you just say, hey, listen, I met you at my open house back in February of last year. I'm just checking in to see, where did you end up buying? You know what? Always be going back. Go as far back. I'm seeing remarkable things with our clients. We have over 900 clients. I'm pretty sure that I know what I'm talking about here. January, February of 2022, that's how far back in your leads you want to go. Okay. Old market evaluations, CMAs and whatnot, go back and dig those up. Okay, resurface all of those and ask if they want an update, or ask them and say, listen, you didn't do anything when we came out there. Is there anything you want to do now? Okay, those are little gold mines. It's incredible. Like, really incredible. I have not seen so many things happen from old leads, regurgitated home evaluations. It's remarkable what we're seeing. The other thing you have to remember is when consumers, and I'm rapid firing this because y'all know that I do not like to be sitting on these things for 20 minutes, especially because I'm going to do an Ironman soon. So I don't have time for that. So first thing, go back January, February, old leads. Okay. If you're on a team and you're like, I don't have any old leads, then ask the team owner and say, listen, I will go, I will fish. Like, who left the team, who had old leads, who doesn't want to follow up with leads, go back and drive into those. Okay. Go hard on that shit. Okay. And don't worry. Do not get sensitive about this. Just go far back. It's been a freaky 3 years. So you got to watch that. And like I said, consumer confidence is impacted. So if somebody's been holding back, they may not be able to hold back any longer. So old leads, you want to go back on, looking at, old home evaluations. That's huge as well. And don't forget, anybody who's pent up right now, this is the time that you want to really be bringing them forward. So look for those alliances of people who have gateways to clients. Okay, that's the other thing that I would suggest to do, meaning mortgage representatives. If you're not getting business right now from any of your lenders, okay, if you're not getting hand over fist requests for home equity checks, evaluations, market conversations, if you're not getting a ton of referrals from your lenders right now, whether again, Canada or United States, this is the most active we've ever seen. I try to get my lender, okay, literally for my own personal investment property, and they're a week and a half behind because they are in so many appointments. So if your lenders are in that many appointments, are you in relationships with them where you're offering to help? How can you help? And I would reach out to your lenders and say, hey, listen, you must be slammed with people either, scared that rates are going to go up or something's going to happen. How can I help with home equity checks? What can I do? You have to ask them how you can best service them and then allow them into your kind of atmosphere that you can help them. Even if it's just, listen, I'll do home equity checks for every single person. I promise I won't talk to them about listing or anything, but let me help you so I can actually get into relationships with those people. And if we can help them at the same time, great. I won't be pressuring them, but I want to be there to help you. But every lender I know in Canada and the United States is slammed right now. If they're not slammed, then I probably wouldn't want to do business with them. Okay, seminars and webinars. Guys, this is the moment that you have to get in front of your people, okay? When inflation is going up, okay, I'm going to explain that to you. I'm giving you rapid fire ideas right now. You want to do as much education as you possibly can. If you're holding back and you're doing selfies or you're doing just solds and shit like that, or I sold the house 80,000 over asking or anything like that, you need to burn that boat. That is done. Okay. As a consumer, that's not sensitive. In an inflation driven market, you have to be sensitive to the consumer. If you're, fat and fed, as I like to call it, and you're financially okay, that doesn't mean that the public is. Read the news, read the room, as I like to say. Okay. Read the room. If you're sitting there bragging about how amazing and financially you are, then you're gaslighting your business right now. Okay. If your pictures on your social media are you living your best life and traveling all over the world and buying fancy cars and all that kind of shit, you are not reading the room. You are not reading the room. You are out of touch with what's happening. Okay. Groceries. In Canada, they had to give $500 per family to groceries right now. Okay, so understand, if they have to do stuff like that to families, then, and you're sitting there and you're bragging about the fact that you just went to Bali, you know what? Or you just bought this new car and it's like fantastic. I think it was Adam Levine, okay? On TMZ, I just saw Adam Levine and Beyonce. So I saw Adam Levine, Beyonce, and Jay-Z. So Adam Levine just got this custom, car, and he's like driving around. He's like, yeah, man. And then I'm looking at Jay-Z and Beyonce, who just spent, I think, 300 million or billion, who knows, cash for a house. Dudes, seriously, read the room, people. Read the room. The economy is tanking in the United States, and you're just 10 days away from debt recovery issues, and they're all over the news about all their cash purchases. I'm like, I don't know. I just wanted to puncture Adam Levine's tires. I'm kidding. I didn't really want to do that. That's crazy. Maybe kick him a little bit, whatever. But anyway, so read the room, people. When inflation is going up and the government keeps giving money to people to say, okay, we're trying to help you and we're trying to get you out of bad situations, or rates are going up and people are saying, I won't be able to hang on to my house and I can't afford groceries. What the heck are you doing on social media? Bragging about how great your life is. You got to be a professional. This is the time where you have to be helping people. Come from contribution. Do educational webinars and seminars and say, look, I understand that not everybody's in a great situation, but let's have a webinar on this. Let's have a group discussion. Let's talk about how you can have we're bringing on a financial planner. This is the time where you want to meet with a financial planner. So bring a financial planner on, have some great discussions about how you can budget better, show ways that you can have energy savings, do home equity checks and show people what they can do and how they can consolidate debt. Help educate. that's where you're going to get the more eyeballs, but that's also where people are going to go, wow, that's like super awesome. Think about the global pandemic. Remember how sensitive people were if you weren't wearing a mask, if you didn't get vaxxed, if you were traveling when you shouldn't have traveled. It's kind of the same thing, but it's an undertone right now. Nobody's going to come out and say, hey, I'm struggling. I'm really, broke, or, I'm hanging on by a thread. If rates go up again, I don't know how I'm going to put food on the table. So read the room. That's what it's called. Read the room. Okay. If you sold the house, 80,000 over asking, that's lovely. But maybe the better message should be, look, we helped this wonderful family, get into another place. And we did it by consulting and showing our expertise and meeting with mortgage representatives, having great discussions. That's the better message. That's what I want to see. I don't really want to see something that says, hey, yeah, like, look at, I'm succeeding at all these levels and blah, blah, blah. It's not that you shouldn't be proud of what you've done and the financial responsibilities that you've had, but you have to look at what's happening in the economy and make some better decisions as far as that goes. So your messaging education wise is where I would go. Really pouring it out there and having funnels for education as well, because this is that time period where you're going to be really looking and going for the next year and a half. They're going to be playing with inflation, playing with interest rates, and you have to be sensitive that not everybody's okay. But also this is a time where people have to make very serious life decisions. They have to say, should I hang on to the house that's too big? Should I not? Okay, well, where's your education on that? What do you offer me as a consumer that needs to make that decision? Do you offer a consultation on downsizers? Do you have a seminar I could go to? Do you have an online resource that I could look at? Are you writing blogs about this? Are you sharing it? That's where you really want to hit home. And I think that's some of the best advice I can give you is that, when it comes to inflation, what does that mean for our markets? I would say we're going to be playing this game for another year and a half. Okay, in the United States versus Canada, Canada has 3 times lack of inventory as the United States does. In the United States, I'm starting to see finally that more listings are starting to come on the market, which is good. We had a very big slowdown, obviously, for obvious reasons. I don't know necessarily I think that's pent up demand that you're seeing with those listings come on the market. I'm seeing a plethora of buyers. You're going to have more and more buyers changing their mind. So you want to go with shorter conditions and you want to really vet the other side. You need to really be talking to the agent on the other side and saying, tell me about your buyer. No more of this texting back and forth. It's okay. You got 10 offers? Great. Let's sit down. Let's have a conversation. Tell me about your buyer. How many houses have they seen? Are all decision makers present? Is there any issues with this? When are you doing the inspection? Boom, boom, boom. All of the above. You've got to communicate with the other side this time and have some really good dialogue to make sure, because you're going to see a lot of deals fall through, a lot of worried buyers. The other thing you want to really be looking at in this type of economy where inflation's increasing is make sure you qualify your own buyers. Okay. Be really careful, because a lot of buyers are getting buyer's remorse. We're going to do a session in a couple of weeks on buyer's remorse and how to kind of work through that. But buyer's remorse is a big thing that's happening right now, and a lot of agents aren't qualified enough. So if you own a big team, make sure that your team has some control over teaching and coaching and training your team on how do we deal with buyer's remorse? How do we deal with objections of people who are wanting to go privately? How are we dealing with unrealistic pricing? You need to, as leaders, if you own a brokerage, start educating all the agents in your brokerage on that as well. Okay, they need to be brought up to speed on how to handle offers too. I've never seen anything like this, where buyer agents are running around, and they're making the situations worse because you're tying up properties, you're stressing the clients out. So you really have to do your due diligence with your own clients as well in regards to that. So you'll start to see this for about a year and a half. The epic pricing, I'm going to say my estimate based on the reports that I've read for all economies right now, 2025 will be the peak of pricing. You're just dealing with the governments in both countries don't understand. They're only looking at supply. They're not looking at demand. The demand in, certain areas like Ontario or United States, whatnot, the demand is so substantially high for housing right now that they have to get more houses on the market and more housing starts. Well, Canada is pooping the bed on that one. I mean, there's no turning back at this point. They're doing a terrible job with it. And the United States is doing a better job. Canada is really, excuse my expression, they're definitely pooping the bed in a major way. We are so far behind our 1.5 in Ontario, 1.5 million houses in 10 years. It's actually a joke. I don't even know what they're thinking. So 2025 in both United States and Canada is supposed to be that peak of pricing. And if you look at all the charts that the prospective governments have showed, because of the housing needs and the wants and desires for housing, the demand basically, in order to curb pricing, you're going to have to see major changes. Those changes won't likely come into effect until 2025. So I think we're going to be riding the high prices regardless. That's why you're seeing interest rates go up and we're not seeing prices collapse. There's just too many people that are, again, consumer confidence is pulling back, less people putting houses on market. Demand is substantially high in both countries right now. So, you're not going to cool down the prices. You're just not. My solution and my suggestion would be they need to get interest rates to 4 to 4.5%, open up the market and let it go. Just let it go. You know what? The more you're playing this game, it's like a bubble, right? It's pent-up demand, pent-up demand, pent-up demand. And, in my opinion, if the government said, look, for the next 2 years, we're going to freeze interest rates at 4 to 4.5%, it's never going to change. Then I think, you'll see confidence go back up. Everybody will start opening back up. And then also you have to really look at regulating the pricing through appraisals. And that's what should happen. Will it happen? No, hell no. They're not going to do that. So you're going to see this shit for at least another year and a half. So if you're expecting, ups and downs, it's definitely going to be that way, but it's going to be who's educating the most, who's going back all the way down to 2022, gone from with your lead follow-up, as I talked about earlier. And then the other thing you really want to look at is that it's not the industry anymore where you can just be, I'm getting a little frustrated with hearing the work-life balance thing. Look, this is a full-time career. Sales requires, a lot of work. If you're looking for work-life balance, this probably won't be the next year and a half, won't be for you. This is going to be where the teams are going to dominate. You can recruit a lot of people at this point, but also be careful that you're not bringing people on board who are really sensitive to lack of education. They're not looking to educate themselves on the marketplace. They just want a bunch of leads. Okay. That's not going to work because if less people want to put their houses on the market, then you're going to have to work harder, right? So it's kind of like this catch-22 that you're really looking at. So for me, I'm saying minimum 25 hours a week is what you really want to be putting into lead generation, and then an extra 1 hour per day. So another 5 hours to bring you up to like about 30 hours, I would say, of lead follow-up. So, do the lead follow-up on that. Other piece of advice, if you don't have people in your cars on weekends and stuff, and it's a spring market, you are not doing enough. Okay, simple as that. But the whole thing with inflation is that it doesn't matter what's happening right now with inflation. That's your governments, whether United States or Canada. I think we all inherently know that the housing market is what they're playing with right now. And the mistakes that they made years ago during the global pandemic with lowering interest rates, that was a colossal mistake that they let go too long. And this is the problem right now that's happening. So we're going to see this happen for another year and a half until they figure out how to build more houses, control it. They're going to be playing with the marketplace. So you have to bulk up your clients. And every time inflation shows on the news, it's very sensitive. So consumers are incredibly media sensitive. So if you see that inflation is going up and they announce it like they did in Canada this past week, consumer confidence usually drops about 30%, and then it holds for 30 to 60 days if the rates go up. So in Canada, June 7th being the variable rate announcement, which I think it will go up a little bit. If it does, you're going to see that that's very painful. Like that's going to hold the market over the summertime. So you really want to front load in the next 2.5 weeks. If I was anybody, Canada, United States, doesn't matter. Okay. I don't care. The next 2.5 weeks, I would put everything I have into lead generation, lead follow-up, past leads. I would be fearless. I would not be attending conferences. I would not be attending anything. I would literally just be focused. I would have my coach, obviously me, but I would have every single thing, and I would be like, go as hard as you can to follow up with things, and I would double down. Like I'm talking 6 new clients a week, finding them, keep myself super ultra busy, and keep myself ultra focused. Why? Because you're in a time period where I think you're 10 days away in the United States from a decision about the debt, which will hurt the consumer's confidence, obviously, and your rates are at risk of going up again. In Canada, June 7th is the date in a couple weeks from now that we're going to be looking at as well to affect consumer confidence. So I'm of the mindset, if you really want to know the truth, whether it's good news or bad news, why would I don't want to prepare for good news. It's the government in both countries. Prepare for the worst, and then if the best happens, then at least you're going to sit back and be like, oh, that was pretty good. But the biggest message that I really want to say is that if you're not spending your time educating and leaning out there, and don't spend a lot of time creating content, just educate as much as you freaking can. Because remember what I said a few minutes ago, read the room. Okay. If the room, just because you're okay doesn't mean everybody else is okay. And if your business isn't where it needs to be this year, you have a window of opportunity for at least maybe 2 weeks left to just go in and dig down and put everything else aside. You will have plenty of time to do this over the summertime, is to just enjoy yourself if it turns out that the market doesn't do anything different in a couple weeks. But in my opinion, you're in a prime opportunity right now to educate, grow consumer confidence through your own education, read the room of what people really need, what are the questions that they want, go back to old leads, follow up, clean up everything. Okay, there's no better time to do it than now. And again, I'm of the mindset where it's just like, don't get a part-time job. You don't need to get a part-time job. You know what? Do the work. Okay. And don't worry. Like I said, everything's going to be okay because our markets in both Canada and the United States are strong, but this will be the highest skill level will continue to succeed. And also the people who are building consumer confidence through educational components and knowledge and information and showing their expertise instead of just posting, oh, I just sold the house. I just sold the house 80,000 over asking, or I just sold the house 30,000 over asking. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. What they care about is like, how are you going to help them with whatever they're going through right now? Or where are the best opportunities? How can I invest my money into something so that I'm securing the future for kids? Like, that's the things that consumers are looking for. And what am I supposed to do if variable goes up again? Those are the things that consumers want to know about. So spend your time doing that. Okay. Hopefully you loved all this stuff. I've been right all throughout COVID. So, I think it's pretty good. And, it's where we're educating our clients right now. I'm very positive of where the market's headed because we have such supply issues in both countries that I'm not concerned at all. The demand is there. We will always have good success in real estate. It's always a secure investment. It's just right now, like I said, you have to really watch and make sure that you're not assuming that everything is going to be absolutely fantastic. You have to really, really prepare yourself. And I say the next 2 weeks, it's all hands on deck, baby. Okay. Good luck, guys.